As a result of these recommendations, numerous community meetings were conducted and concerns were noted. On May 5th, 2008, the Division of Police transitioned from 6 to 5 districts. We are currently assessing the transition on a weekly basis, and a first quarter review will be completed at the end of this month. One of the main goals of the transition team was to better connect police officers with the community they serve. Now, today, rather than patrol artificial boundaries, Cleveland police officers patrol neighborhoods. Also, during the process, the downtown area was designated a neighborhood and is currently being served by a downtown services unit, bringing 18 more officers to the central business district to address the unique public safety needs of that particular area. By reducing some of our upper-level supervisory positions, we have also been able to put more officers on the streets. These officers are available to be deployed into our neighborhoods and to address the needs of our community. In addition, the committee also identified new technology that can help us become more efficient. For example, automated vehicle locators, which we call AVL, and computer-aided dispatch, which helps zone cars respond to calls faster. Our work is not finished. Review the past, secure the present, and plan for the future is a continuing process, changing and adapting in order to provide quality services to the citizens of this community. The next topic of discussion is pro-enforcement actions, which we like to call intelligence-led policing. One of the critical factors in our ability to secure the present and plan for the future is how we deploy our resources, our officers, our dollars, and our technology. Today, the Division of Police is working smarter and harder with less personnel. Why? Because we continually evaluate the needs of the neighborhoods, analyze crime trends, and make adjustments to our deployment strategies. When deploying officers throughout the city, we break it down into 3 areas of responsibility: districts, neighborhoods, and census tracts. We then use a formula to determine the number of officers that will be deployed to each one of these areas. The inputted data is drawn from 4 areas: calls for service, Part 1 crimes, population, and patrol area. We call this the workload. We do this to ensure that each district has sufficient personnel, both uniform and support, to provide adequate services to the community. Once deployment is determined, it is then the responsibility of the district commanders to ensure that proper services are provided. In addition to the officers that are deployed to the districts, there are numerous units which we are assigned to the Justice Center which provide additional support. For example, the Homicide Unit, the Traffic Unit, Narcotics Unit, SWAT Unit, Sex Crimes, Financial Crimes, Intelligence, and Auto Theft. The men and women who serve Cleveland as police officers do an outstanding job, but we know that they cannot do it alone. It is for this reason, over the past 2.5 years, I have been very aggressive in strengthening our partnerships with other local, county, state, and federal law enforcement entities. By creating specialized task forces and enforcement strategies, we are able to have a multiplying effect on our police force, and we are better able to target those hot spots in the city that have high incidence of Part 1 crimes like homicide, felonious assault, robbery, burglary, etc. These particular crimes have a direct impact on the quality of life in those neighborhoods. Many of our Part 1 crimes are driven by one factor: drugs, specifically cocaine. The cocaine epidemic, which hit our urban areas in the early 80s, has held the #1 position ever since. Drugs have a direct and indirect impact on approximately 70% of our Part 1 crimes, and that is a conservative estimate. We also know that better than 90% of the gangs in this country are associated with drugs. And you roll in the easy accessibility of guns, and you have a formula for tragedy. In order to deploy our support services efficiently and to address the issue of drugs in our neighborhoods and other related quality of life issues, we do a crime analysis overlay to identify those areas where there's a high incidence of weapons and narcotic violations and gang activity. The weapons violations are related to robberies, felonious assaults, burglaries, and homicides. Once these locations are identified, they are then labeled as hotspots. The incidents are then broken down by days of the week and hours of the day. Once the analysis is completed, we then coordinate with district personnel to deploy support and pro-enforcement strategies at these locations during the specified time periods. These locations, which we call hotspots, are assessed on a weekly basis, and deployment strategies are adjusted to provide the best services to the community. Examples of our overlay support services and strategies: the Northern Ohio Enforcement Task Force, formerly known as the Caribbean Task Force. This is a cooperative effort targeting organized drug trafficking, including enforcement initiatives concerning commercial vehicles, highway interdiction, and hotel-motel interdiction. The North Coast Narcotics Violent Gang Task Force. Their mission is to identify the most violent established gangs in the city of Cleveland and aggressively pursue dismantling their illegal operations, including the use of federal indictments. Over the past 20 months, 7 gangs in the city of Cleveland have been dismantled. As a result, 202 people have been arrested, and we've had 201 federal indictments. Stand Together Against Neighborhood Crime and Every Day, which we call STANCE, in a partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office. A federal grant known as the Six City Initiative was applied for and awarded to the city of Cleveland in 2006. Cleveland was one of 6 cities from across this nation to receive funding to address violent gangs in our urban areas. This project was broken down into 3 components. 3 components, and this is very important: enforcement actions, prevention actions, and reentry. The Northern Ohio Violent Crime Consortium, which we call NOVIC. This is another federal grant-funded program submitted by the United States Attorney's Office here in Northeast Ohio on behalf of 7 cities partnered throughout Northeast Ohio. The 7 cities are Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown, Mansfield, Canton, Toledo, Elyria, Lorain, along with the State Highway Patrol and the State Bureau of Criminal Investigation. This project specifically targets weapon violations, highway interdiction relative to the transportation of illegal weapons between the cities, and the inputting of weapon identifications into a national database. Under NOVIC, we conduct gun suppression initiatives. These are details which are conducted with representatives from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau. District detectives team up with federal agents in an undercover capacity in an attempt to identify those individuals that may be displaying characteristics of a person who may be carrying a concealed weapon. To date, for 2008, 205 details have been completed, arresting 333 individuals and confiscating 81 weapons.